Okay, well, welcome to Chapter 2. Today what we're going to be doing is 2-1 solving one-step equations. And the objective for today is to solve one-step equations in one variable. So we're just going to be working with one variable at a time to start. Okay, our standard is A1.2.5, solve problems that can model using linear equations and inequalities, and interpret solutions and determine whether the solutions are reasonable. Okay, the first vocab we have for today is equivalent equations. Equivalent equations is just saying that the equations have the same solutions. So that way they would be equivalent. The other one is adding the addition property of equality, adding the same number to each side of the equation, producing equivalent equations. Okay, we'll get more into that. Okay, the addition property of equality says for any real numbers a, b, and c, if a equals b, then a plus c equals b plus c. And so for an example over here we have x minus 3 is equal to 2. So by the addition property what we can do is we can say x minus 3 plus 3 equals 2 plus 3. Okay, so those are things you can fill in your notes. And we're just saying that as long as you do something to both sides of the equation, then you're going to be fine. Okay, so always remember that. You might want to note that down. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other. Okay, then we have the subtraction property of equality, which is subtracting the same number to each side of the equation, producing equivalent equations. So really it's just the same thing. So there's addition property again, and then we have the subtraction property, which all it's saying again is that we have some real numbers a, b, and c. If a equals b, then what we can say is a minus c is also equivalent to b minus c. So notice that minus c is on both sides of the equal sign. Okay, and again, example, x plus 3 equals 2. We can take x plus 3 minus 3 equals 2 minus 3. And you'll notice that we're always doing the inverse operations when we're doing these. So it was x minus in the first one, we used plus 3. It was x plus 3 in the second one there, and we used minus 3. So we're doing inverse operations. Okay. Isolation, or to isolate in mathematics, to get a specific variable or value alone on one side of an equal sign. That's what it means to isolate. So what we want to do is we want to get the unknown value on one side of the equation. So we make it x equals or m equals whatever the equation is. Inverse operation, which I already kind of talked about, is the counterpart operation in which we'll undo another operation. So addition, the inverse is subtraction. Multiplication, the inverse is division. Okay, and then subtraction, addition, division, multiplication. Okay, so let's look at problem number 1. I got some blanks you're supposed to fill in. So it says x plus 13 is 27, and I put in the first blank there. We need to get x by itself. So fill in that blank. We need x by itself. That was kind of the goal. This is kind of the steps that we need to take. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at this and say, alright, well, we want to isolate x. Okay, so to undo the plus 13 here, we need to subtract by 13 on both sides. Okay, so to undo this, we need to subtract 13 to both sides. So what we're going to say is x plus 13 is equal to 27. Now there's a lot of times what people are going to say is we're going to draw this line right down the middle, and what that means is that's just where the equal sign is. And that way when we go to do the next part, which is subtract 13 from both sides, we're talking about that line. It's always on both sides of the equation, not on both sides of this plus sign on the equation. Okay, and then what we can do is just draw the line going across, and we walk through it. If I have x plus 13 and then minus 13, these cancel to give me just x, and that equals 27 minus 13, which is 14. Okay, so we need to simplify once we got there, and then check. So here's on the right blank is x equals 14, and then we want to check. We always check into the printed problem. So therefore I'm going to say 14 plus 13 should equal 27. Okay, well, 14 plus 13 is 27. 27 does equal 27, so that does check out. Make sure you check your work. Okay, So let's look at what is the solution of negative 7 equals b minus 3. We're going to do the same thing, and the question is, what must we do first? Well, the first thing we need to do is get the b by itself, get the variable by itself. So once again, get this letter by itself. Well, how do we do that? Okay, well, we're going to add 3 to both sides now. Because it's minus 3, we're going to do the inverse, which is to add 3 to both sides. Okay, draw a line. Negative 3 plus 3 makes 0. B plus 0 is B. That equals negative 7 plus 3. Well, that gives us a negative 4. So our answer is negative 4. Again, we're going to go check our work. So I say negative 7 equals negative 4, always into the beginning problem, the one that's printed on the paper. And we say negative 3 minus 3, or negative 4 minus 3 more. Okay, remember, same signs. If we make this plus the opposite, it's same signs adding, so we get negative 7. Does negative 7 equal negative 7? Absolutely. Then we check our work. Okay. Well, we're going to stop there for a little bit, and we're going to come back and we're going to do some multiplying and dividing.